But at the turn of the 21st century, it was difficult to predict where Israel's main battle tank would next be used. Israel had made peace with Egypt in 1979. The Iraqi army had been crushed in the 1991 Gulf War. Israel had signed peace accords with the Jordanians and the Palestinians. Then, in late 2000, the Second Palestinian Intifada erupted. The Merkava was soon deployed in support of Israeli military operations in the West Bank and Gaza. The tactics were heavy-handed, and according to some Israelis, ineffective.
You can't reach guerrilla movements in the narrow streets of the refugee camps. Even if you have a modern tank like the Merkava, they just can't maneuver. What can a tank do in front of a child carrying a stone or a Molotov cocktail?
The use of large-scale tanks in civilian applications actually creates a great sense of antagonism and hostility. This alienates, this makes people angry, and promotes in them a desire to find other ways to hit back.
The Palestinians in the occupied territories had learnt new ways to fight. There were still the young boys throwing stones, which had characterized the first Palestinian Intifada in 1987. But increasingly, the Israelis found themselves facing a new generation of Palestinian guerrillas. This new generation of guerrillas had lived under the yoke of Israeli occupation. They were familiar with Israeli military operations, and they used all means at their disposal to obtain crucial information on fighting their enemy.
There are Israeli websites showing photos and other information about the Merkava. They are proud of it and want to show it off. We visited these sites and learned of its strong and its weak points.
The belly of the tank is not as well armoured as the sides or the front. This is the weakest part, the belly.
In home workshops like these, Palestinians work to produce weapons. The aim, to attack the Merkava.
So explosives were available both in West Bank and in Gaza. The exercise was really to foresee and to estimate the positioning in which to put the explosives and to find some effective way for initiating the explosives.
In Gaza, one paramilitary faction, the Salahuddin Brigade, took on the challenge of striking at the Merkava. We met the fighters who explained how they planned and executed a classic ambush along this road close to what was once the Jewish settlement of Netzarim in February 2002.
We carefully observed the Merkava for 2 months, and one day we decided to attack it. We planted 2 mines on the road, a small one of 30 kilos and a larger one of 120 kilos. The small mine targeted a military convoy which was coming out of the Israeli settlement of Netzarim. This exploded, and as we had predicted, a Merkava tank was sent to rescue the convoy. When it approached, we detonated the larger mine. The tank was cut into pieces and the crew killed.
This was the first Merkava to be destroyed in Gaza. The Israelis were shocked. The Palestinian guerrillas saw this attack as a significant step forward in their resistance to Israeli occupation.
Praise be to God. We were happier than ever before. The Palestinian people were now confident that this monster, the Merkava, could be destroyed.
Another Palestinian faction in Gaza took inspiration from this attack on the Merkava. 7 months after the first attack, the Al-Quds Brigade targeted a Merkava tank which was patrolling the Rafah border area in southern Gaza. At the exact location, they told us how they carried out their attack in September 2002.
We were very jealous of the fact that other groups had destroyed the Merkava, and so we decided to try to destroy one too. We only had an old RPG-7, but we decided to use it against the Merkava, as we knew that the back door was one of its weak points.
The opportunity came when the tank turned and its back door was facing us. We fired the RPG, which penetrated the back door. The shells inside the tank exploded, creating a massive bang.
The blast was so huge that massive fragments of metal from the destroyed tank scattered across the area, smashing holes in the border wall the Israelis had built. An area that had been frequently shot at by the Israeli army now bore the shrapnel marks from a destroyed Merkava.
We celebrated and distributed sweets to all our relatives and friends. At first the Merkava was like a miracle, but now it's something normal, like any other armored vehicles.
Other Merkava tanks were targeted by Palestinian militants. A week after the strike by the Al-Quds Brigade, another Merkava was blown up by a landmine close to Al-Mughazi refugee camp. The explosion was so powerful that to this day the soil still remains discolored on the exact spot where the tank was destroyed. These Palestinian shepherd boys showed us what they said were remnants from the destroyed tank. Such successful strikes against the Merkava in Gaza, though exceptional, nevertheless demonstrated that the legendary tank was not invincible. A chink in Israel's armor had been detected. Hezbollah was quick to pick up on these lessons when Israel invaded Lebanon in the summer of 2006. Like the Palestinians, Hezbollah made it their aim to damage what was still a powerful symbol of Israel's technological might. As in 1982, the Israelis decided to spearhead their incursion into Lebanon with tanks. And as in 1982, the Merkava was the principal instrument through which Israel implemented its version of Blitzkrieg, a lightning war in which the Israeli army sought to win all of its battles quickly, decisively, and with the fewest possible casualties. Israel's major ground assault into Lebanon was launched on two fronts. Neither of them was an obvious choice for tanks.
The terrain in the south is ideal guerrilla country. It is hilly, it is often well covered with trees and undergrowth. It has caves, it has tunnels. It was ideal territory for people who know the ground and understand the area very well, and extremely difficult for an invader who does not know the ground as well.
The Israelis first crossed the border from the Metula settlement and advanced through this valley beneath the village of Al-Khiyam. Hezbollah guerrillas, hiding in the surrounding hills and villages, fired their anti-tank missiles at the Israeli tanks advancing below.
That incursion of tanks reached about 3.5 kilometers before that was halted by missile attack.
Hezbollah was using the latest Metis and Kornet anti-tank missiles. Manufactured in Russia, the missiles had the ability to pierce even the heavy armor of the Merkava.